In a future where humanity's expansion into the cosmos had triggered a series of violent conflicts with extraterrestrial civilizations, the galaxy became a battleground for control over planets and resources. Among these civilizations was an alien race that occupied the fourth space colony, a sprawling, advanced city hidden within the depths of a distant star system. This colony was known for its cold efficiency in defending itself against human invasions. Any human soldiers who dared to cross its borders were swiftly captured, taken to hidden facilities where they were subjected to brutal experiments. The colony had mastered the art of secrecy, using these captured humans for scientific purposes, and very few ever escaped. Life on the colony continued as it had for centuries, calm on the surface, but always with the tension of war lurking in the background. Everything changed when Earth's military, growing more desperate in its fight for galactic supremacy, launched an aggressive assault on the fourth space colony. The attack was sudden and brutal. Hundreds of human ships descended upon the colony, attempting to breach its formidable defenses. The colony fought back with advanced weaponry and tactical precision, cutting down wave after wave of human soldiers. Explosions lit up the sky as Earth's forces tried to break through, but it was clear that they were no match for the colony's power. In the chaos of battle, the colony's soldiers eliminated nearly all of the invading humans, their bodies scattered across the war-torn landscape. But one man, Bill, a soldier with a reputation for cunning and quick thinking, managed to escape. Unlike his comrades, Bill had anticipated the possibility of failure. While others charged headlong into battle, Bill had held back, watching the carnage unfold with sharp, calculating eyes. When it became clear that the invasion was doomed, he used the confusion to slip away, navigating through the destruction and slipping into the shadows of the colony. In his search for refuge, he stumbled upon a long-abandoned prison on the outskirts of the colony, an eerie, forgotten place that had once housed dangerous criminals, now empty and crumbling with age. Bill knew that this old prison was his best chance at survival. The alien forces would not think to search here, not in a place that had been out of use for years. He ventured inside, carefully moving through the dark corridors, finding an empty cell that offered both shelter and concealment. The cold metal walls pressed in around him, but he knew it was better than the battlefield outside. For days, Bill remained hidden, surviving on his instincts and the few supplies he had managed to steal during his escape. Every creak of the prison walls made him flinch. Every distant sound of battle outside reminded him that he was still in enemy territory. But he was patient, knowing that his chance to escape would come. On the fifth night, as Bill settled into his corner of the cell, exhaustion finally began to wear him down. He had managed to remain silent and unseen for days, but his body, pushed to its limits, betrayed him. A sneeze, small, quick, but unmistakable, echoed through the empty halls of the prison. Bill froze, his heart pounding in his chest, hoping against hope that no one had heard. But someone had. Quinora, a soldier of the alien race, had been on patrol that night. She was one of the colony's elite, fierce, intelligent, and loyal to her people. Her appearance, with her fiery red hair that glowed faintly under the colony's lights and her tall, lithe frame, made her stand out among her peers. But it was her sharp instincts and unmatched combat skills that had earned her the respect of her people. As she passed near the abandoned prison, her keen ears caught the sound of something unusual, a faint sneeze, echoing from within the supposedly empty structure. Quinora hesitated for only a moment before making her way inside, her sharp eyes scanning the darkness. She had always trusted her instincts, and tonight they told her something wasn't right. Moving silently through the dim corridors, her footsteps barely making a sound, she followed the source of the noise. As she neared one of the cells, she stopped, her gaze narrowing. There, hidden in the shadows, was a human man, tall, muscular, and undeniably handsome, with dark hair and sharp features. His posture was tense, but calm, his eyes watching her with a steady gaze that belied the fear he should have felt. Quinora's hand hovered over the weapon at her side, her body tense, ready for a fight. But something about the way he looked at her made her pause. Bill, realizing he had been discovered, made no sudden moves. Instead, he met Quinora's gaze with a calmness that surprised even him. He knew that his life hung in the balance. One wrong word or move, and she would kill him without hesitation. But Bill had survived this long by reading people, by knowing how to manipulate a situation to his advantage. He took a breath and began to speak, his voice calm and measured, explaining that he was not a threat, that he had only sought refuge in the abandoned prison after the battle went wrong. He spoke of the horrors of war, of watching his comrades fall, and how he had no choice but to hide to survive. Quinora listened, her hands still on her weapon, her eyes never leaving him. There was something in his voice, something intelligent and composed, that intrigued her. He didn't grovel or beg for his life like she expected a human to do. Instead, he spoke as if they were equals, as if he wasn't terrified, and somehow that disarmed her more than anything else could have. Against her better judgment, Quinora found herself lowering her weapon. The tension in the air shifted as she studied him, a strange mixture of curiosity and something else, something deeper beginning to stir inside her. Without fully understanding why, she stepped closer to the bars, her gaze still locked on his. And then, in a moment of pure impulse, she leaned in and kissed him. The kiss was brief, but it was enough to catch them both off guard. Quinora pulled back, startled by her own actions, her heart pounding in her chest. Bill, too, was surprised, though he recovered quickly. He could see it now. Quinora was drawn to him, fascinated by him in a way that could be useful. Bill, ever the opportunist, saw a chance to turn this to his advantage. He gave her a small, grateful smile and thanked her for not killing him, subtly playing into her unexpected feelings for him. He promised not to leave the prison, to stay hidden as long as she kept him safe. Quinora, still shaken by the intensity of the moment, agreed, her mind spinning with conflicting thoughts. Over the next 5 days, Quinora visited Bill regularly, bringing him food and supplies, and staying with him for hours. They talked about Earth, about her colony, about the war that had brought them to this moment. Bill, always careful with his words, painted himself as a reluctant soldier, someone who had been forced into the war by circumstance. He told her stories of Earth, of its beauty and its struggles, all while subtly gathering information about the colony from her. Quinora, who had always been cautious and guarded, found herself opening up to him, sharing things she had never told anyone. She told him about her people, their history, their technology, and even the strategic weaknesses of the colony. She was falling for him more deeply than she realized, and each day spent with him only strengthened her feelings. But Bill's mind was elsewhere. Beneath his charm and easy demeanor, he was planning his next move. He had managed to keep a small communication device hidden in his clothing, and each night, while Quinora was away, he used it to send encrypted messages back to Earth's military. The information he gathered from Quinora was invaluable details about the colony's defense systems, the location of its leaders, and the key points that, if targeted, could bring the entire colony to its knees. Bill knew that with this knowledge, Earth's forces could return and finish the job they had started. And when they did, he would be the hero, the man who had brought down one of the galaxy's most powerful alien colonies. It didn't take long for Bill's plan to bear fruit. Just days after his final message, Earth's military launched a second, far more coordinated assault on the fourth space colony. Armed with the information Bill had provided, they bypassed the colony's defenses with precision, striking at its most vulnerable points. The colony, which had withstood countless invasions over the years, began to fall apart under the onslaught. Explosions rocked the city, and alien soldiers fell by the dozens as Earth's forces tore through the colony's infrastructure. In the span of a few hours, the mighty fourth space colony was reduced to rubble, its proud towers crumbling to dust. Quinora, who had been away when the attack began, returned to find her home in ruins. The sight of the destruction was more than she could bear. Her people, her family, everything she had fought to protect was gone, destroyed by the very humans she had sworn to fight against. She rushed to the prison, desperate to find Bill, the one person she thought she could trust in the midst of the chaos. But when she confronted him, the truth hit her like a knife to the heart. Bill had betrayed her. He had been the one to provide the humans with the information they needed to destroy her colony. Tears filled Quinora's eyes as she looked at Bill, her heart breaking with the weight of betrayal. The colony she had sworn to protect, the people she had grown up with, the very foundation of her world was crumbling before her eyes. The man standing in front of her, this human she had thought was different, was responsible for it all. The realization hit her like a physical blow, as if the air had been ripped from her lungs. Everything she had shared with Bill over the past few days, every laugh, every moment of connection, had been a lie, a carefully crafted ruse to win her trust. Her hands trembled, the urge to strike him down rising inside her like a tidal wave. She was a soldier, after all. She had trained for moments like this, where justice needed to be swift and merciless. But now, in the face of the man she had come to care for so deeply, she couldn't move. Her body was frozen, torn between the love she still felt for him and the burning desire for revenge. Bill, sensing her hesitation, stepped forward. His face was devoid of any remorse, his eyes cold and calculating, as if the destruction around them meant nothing. "Quinora," he said softly, his voice filled with the confidence of a man who believed he had already won. "You need to make a choice. I can't afford to leave you here. Either you come with me, back to Earth, where you'll have a new life, or I'll have no choice but to kill you. It's simple." His words were a dagger to her heart. Kill her? After everything they had shared, after all she had done for him, was this really who he was? Quinora searched his eyes for any sign of the man she had kissed in that prison cell, the man who had looked at her with such intensity, such understanding. But there was nothing left. The warmth she had seen in him was gone, replaced by the ruthless ambition of a man who would do whatever it took to get what he wanted. "Why?" Quinora whispered, her voice breaking. "Why did you do this? I trusted you. I thought but double quotes her words trailed off, unable to complete the thought. She had thought he cared about her, that their connection had been real, but now she saw the truth. It had always been about power, about using her to bring down the colony. Bill's expression hardened. "This was never about us, Quinora. It was about survival. You knew what this war was from the beginning. You're a soldier, just like me. You do what you have to do to win. I needed the information you had, and I got it. Simple as that." Quinora's heart clenched at his words. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt, it was the coldness in his voice, the way he dismissed everything they had shared as if it had meant nothing. She had opened herself to him, had let him see parts of her that no one else had ever seen. And in return, he had used her, manipulated her, and now he stood there, ready to discard her like she was nothing more than a tool. For a long moment, Quinora stood in silence, her mind racing with memories of her colony, her people, the life she had once known. The thought of returning to Earth with Bill, of leaving behind everything she had ever believed in, filled her with a sense of dread. She could still feel the heat of the explosions in the distance, hear the screams of her people as their world fell apart. How could she ever face herself if she left with him now, if she abandoned the memory of her fallen comrades to follow a man who had destroyed everything? But there was something else, too, a part of her, a small, aching part still longed for him, still remembered the moments they had shared when it had felt like they were the only two beings in the universe. Even now, as the fires of destruction burned around them, that part of her clung to the hope that there was still something left of the man she had come to care for. "Do you really expect me to just walk away from this?" she asked, her voice low and filled with pain. "After everything you've done?" Bill's eyes softened for the briefest moment, and for a split second, Quinora thought she saw a flicker of regret in his gaze. But it was gone as quickly as it had appeared, replaced once again by that same cold, calculating stare. "It's over, Quinora. You can't change what's happened. You can't bring them back, but you can survive. You can come with me, and we can build something new. You and me together, or you can die here like the rest of them." Quinora felt her blood run cold at his words. It was a choice: stay and die in the ashes of her home, or leave with the man who had destroyed it. Either way, she would lose something precious. She would lose a part of herself. But there was no time to think, no time to weigh her options. The ground trembled beneath them as another explosion rocked the colony, and Bill took a step closer, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. "What's it going to be, Quinora?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "Make your choice." Her mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions: anger, grief, love, betrayal. She knew she should hate him, that she should turn and fight, that she should avenge her people and die with honor. But as she looked at him, at the man who had once made her heart race with excitement, she realized she couldn't bring herself to do it. She couldn't kill him, and she couldn't stay here and die. "I'll go with you," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Bill's expression remained unreadable, but he nodded once, his grip on his weapon loosening. "Smart choice," he said, and for a moment, Quinora thought she saw the shadow of a smile on his lips. But it was fleeting, disappearing as quickly as it had come. Without another word, Bill turned and started toward the waiting transport ship, leaving Quinora standing in the ruins of her home, her heart heavy with the weight of her decision. For a brief moment, she hesitated, glancing back at the burning colony. The memories of her people, her family, and everything she had fought for filled her mind, and she felt a deep, hollow ache in her chest. But she couldn't turn back now. The moment she had made her choice, the path before her was set. With one last look at the devastation, she turned and followed Bill onto the ship, her steps slow and filled with the weight of a future she wasn't sure she wanted. The journey to Earth was silent and tense. Quinora sat in the co-pilot's seat, staring out at the stars, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. She was going to a planet she had only ever known as the enemy, a world filled with people who would likely hate and fear her for what she was. And yet, a part of her still clung to the hope that, somehow, she could make a new life there, that, somehow, she could find peace. But as the ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, and the sprawling cities of the human world came into view, Quinora felt a sinking dread in the pit of her stomach. This wasn't her home. It would never be her home. And the man sitting beside her, the man she had once thought she loved, was not the man she had hoped he would be. When they landed, Bill was immediately greeted by a group of Earth's military officers, all of them congratulating him on his successful mission. He accepted their praise with the same cold detachment he had shown throughout their time together, his eyes flicking briefly toward Quinora as if she were nothing more than a tool he had used to achieve his goal. And in that moment, Quinora realized that she had truly lost everything. Her home, her people, her honor, all of it was gone, and now she was trapped on a world that was not her own, tied to a man who had no loyalty to anyone but himself. For weeks, Quinora remained in Bill's shadow, following his orders as he rose through the ranks of Earth's military. She became a spy for him, an agent who could move through the shadows and gather intelligence that no human could. And while she excelled at her new role, using her skills as a warrior to infiltrate and sabotage Earth's enemies, the hollowness inside her only grew. Every mission, every act of betrayal she carried out, felt like another piece of her soul being chipped away. She had once been a proud soldier of the Fourth Space Colony, a defender of her people, and now she was nothing more than a weapon in the hands of a man she no longer recognized. And yet, she stayed. She stayed because, despite everything, a part of her still loved him. A part of her still remembered the man who had kissed her in that prison cell, the man who had spoken to her as if she were his equal. But each day that passed, that memory grew fainter, buried beneath the weight of the lies and the betrayals that had come after. One night, after returning from a particularly dangerous mission, Quinora stood alone in the room Bill had assigned her, staring out at the city below. The lights of Earth's sprawling metropolis blinked in the distance, a constant reminder of the world she now called home. But it didn't feel like home. It never would. And as the darkness closed in around her, Quinora made a decision. She couldn't go on like this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.